Hello and welcome to Art by Ponema. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Viviva watercolour set. It's the Spring 16 colour set. I'm going to be painting the underwater scene of the jellyfish. This is from the lovely adult colouring book. It's the A5 one and I'm really excited to see what I can do with this lovely page. So I've got my palette here ready. I have some clean water. I have a tissue here next to me ready. And I've got a number 6 round brush. And I'll also be using a round number 3 brush. So I'm going to start off by adding some water into my palette. And I'm going to start to mix this beautiful blue colour. So I'm just digging in a little bit deep into the palette, rubbing the colour through, and it's coming out really nicely. I also have a little swatch sheet here, so I'll use that a little bit later. But at the moment I'm just going to use a little scrap piece of paper just to swatch the colours out in. So this is what the blue looks like. I'm also going to mix a little bit of this pink. So same movement again, just digging in deep. Got a lovely salmon colour here going. Then I'm going to try this dark blue as well. So I'm rinsing the brush out each time to make sure that it's nice and clean. So the colours are lovely and bright. You don't need a lot, so it's always a good idea to mix it in a palette, so that way you can dilute them and you can use them to get them nice and translucent. These are brand new, so I do need to just activate the paints. So I'm scrubbing quite firmly, and because I want to keep the colours all separated, I'm doing it on my palette. So this is a ceramic palette, by the way. So I'm starting off by taking some clean water. Here's my clean water, and I'm going to wet the top of the jellyfish first. Then I'm going to add a little bit of this lilac colour. I'm looking for the colours to blend into each other, so I'm going to start off by putting one colour in. Then I'm going to go into the next sky blue colour, and I'm going to add that in as well. And then I'll go into a slightly deeper blue and put that in too. Okay, so we're going to let that blend in. We can then do the base. So again, I'm going to wet around this area where the tentacles are, making sure that the water is nice and even and you haven't got too much in any one area. And then I can start to add some of the blue water in. So what I'm doing is I'm going to create a blended effect with these paints. I'm going to use the colours that I've used earlier on, and I'm just going to let them merge through. So because we have wet the area, the colours are lovely and soft. Okay, so that's one of them. Then we'll go on to paint the next one. So I'm going to mix a little bit of blue in, a bit of green this time. So that I'm going to switch to the smaller brush this time, I'm going to wet the area first. There's a little bit of green from the mixing, but that's no problem. I can add a little bit of the green in, adding the blue in, and then adding the lighter blue. So notice that I didn't rinse the brush out in between, which isn't a problem. I'm going to wet this area first. And then I'm going to drop the colours. So going in from one colour to the next, letting the blending take place on the paper. So you have a lovely soft background again. So I can spread the colour a little bit further now. Okay, then I'm going to do this area at the top, so I'm going to wet it first. So this is known as wetting to wet. I'm going through the colour mixtures that I've already got. I really like this lovely violet colour. And again, I'm going to introduce different colours. So we're going to have a really nice, bright, colourful page. I'm going to bring the colour further down. I'm spreading the colour with my round brush so that it's lovely and soft everywhere. And then I'm adding a little bit more paint to it. Notice how I keep in the brushing strokes moving all the time so that the paint doesn't settle in any one area. So I can come in and do this lovely foliage in the underwater. And the idea of this is that I can keeping the brush flowing, but also painting the areas at the same time. And it's a really nice way to learn how to make the watercolours blend into each other and make it look lovely and bright. So if there's any area that you want to go paint, just go and put some clean water on it first. And the paper is just absorbing the paper really nicely as well. So as soon as you put a little bit of colour in, go into the next colour. I'm keeping this one really simple. I've just used a few colours so that I can keep it nice and synchronised. And lovely and bright. And look how swiftly I can paint a page. So you can go through all the different areas, introducing the colours. And because I have a lovely outline, I can just keep this lovely and loose. So if I want to deepen any areas, I can go back and put a little bit more on. I think I'm going to paint the bubbles. In the blue. So I'm using a slightly smaller brush for that to keep it within the bubbles. and then I'm going to wait for everything to dry. Okay, so that's the this under scene done.